Today we'll be showing you how to install a dome camera onto a ceiling tile. It's a fairly simple task, so let's get started. Always start off by surveying the locations that you want cameras to monitor. How far away will you need facial detail? What angle of view will you need for full coverage? How many feet of night vision will you need? What aesthetics do you prefer, bullet or dome? After you know these things, you can feel more comfortable about your camera decision. Once you've determined what camera you'll be using, you'll need to run the wire to the location. This camera accepts PoE, so we can run cable from the NVR's PoE switch in the server closet to this location in the ceiling. Right now, the cable's out of the way, resting on another tile. The mounting holes for our dome cameras are within the housing. This helps to keep would-be thieves from removing the camera from its mounting location. So we're going to take the dome cover off. There are recessed screws in 3 locations, here, here, and here. In order to loosen them, you'll need the hex key that came with the camera. Position the camera to face the direction that you want to capture. Once the camera is located over the spot that you would like to mount it, mark the screw holes for drilling. Take note of the pigtails position coming out of the camera's housing. A larger hole will have to be drilled to feed through the tile. For the screw holes, we used an 1/8 of an inch drill bit. For the pigtail, we used 3/4 of an inch drill bit. The widest diameter on the pigtail surrounds the female RJ45 jack and is 5/8 of an inch. We used 3/4 to make sure there's enough room for the pigtail to fit through. We sourced these machine screws at a local hardware store. They came with the nuts and bolts, and are long enough to reach the depth that we're looking for. Feed the pigtail of the camera through the hole, and align the camera mounting holes with the newly drilled holes on the tile. Then finger tighten the screws in place. When the camera and all of the bolts are in place, begin screwing them down. After the bolts are in place, set the tile on its side while holding the camera in place. Then begin finger tightening the nut to the machine screws. Washers can be used on the back side under the nut to further distribute the weight of the camera and provide better support. We're going to leave the dome cover off here so that we can point the camera lens after it's mounted. Bring a ladder to the location the tile will be installed, and make sure you have a friend or coworker there to spot you. We have already run the line and have it sitting on an adjacent tile. Bring the tile up close enough so that you can connect the Ethernet cable to the camera's pigtail. Make sure it snaps in place, then set the tile in place. We have a general view of the monitoring area, but we want to get the best picture and coverage. So we're going to have to point the lens of this camera to get that. This is where it really helps to have your system networked and configured. We'll be using this phone as a monitor while pointing the camera. It's pretty close already and only needs a slight adjustment. We've placed the dome cover on and finger tightened the screws. We'll want to secure the dome cover well enough to keep any dust or moisture out of the unit. We'll be using the hex key that came with the camera for this. The last touch that I like to give my projects is wiping the dome cover with the lens cloth, just to make sure the image is going to come through crisp and clear. Here's a look at the finished product, installed and configured.